I shouldn't be here right now. Well, I should be going live. But what I should be doing is I should be doing this from a hotel room in Barbados. What has that got to do with today's topic of never entertain doubts? Well, let me tell you how what I've been learning from Helene, from Florence Scovel-Shinn, from Neville Goddard, all these teachers, and how it came right into my own life. What? Let me explain how having doubt left me here at home and give you a concrete example of what not to do and what I'm definitely not going to be doing in the future. Now, my name's Carolyn Willman, and I'm blessed with maintaining Helene Hadsell's legacy, Tag Powell's legacy, his wife Judith's legacy. So far, I know there's more authors coming. They'll show up when it's time. However, I'm also the contest queen. Yes, I wear many crowns. And as the contest queen, I teach people how to win sweepstakes contests and giveaways. It's one of the reasons I believe Helene Hadsell asked me to maintain her legacy, is because not only was I writing my own books, I understood the hobby of sweepstakes, just like she had been entering way back in the day, because they do dovetail together. Now, one of the things that I've been working on is trip number 25. So since I started entering in 2001 as a daily hobby, I've won 24 trips. And I had a bit of a gap there where I was really depressed and going through a divorce and doing all these things. And I didn't win a trip for 10 years. So it was a huge gap between trips. And after I'd had a dry spell on trips for a long time, I kind of knew that when I got my vibration back up, when I was happier, that trip would show up, and I was right. So I've won a couple of trips since I got into that new place. I've also gotten busier, and I haven't been entering as much. You can't win if you don't enter. No accident. That's the title of my first book, right? So one of the things that had happened, if you've read my first book, you'd know that the very first trip I ever won was a trip to Barbados. Now, my mom actually won the trip. This was back in 1990. It was in 1990 that I entered and she won, but we didn't go till 91. So it's been a hot minute. And what happened is I had won a day out from a local radio station. And I won hair salon, we got haircut, lunch. We got a bunch of things. It was a whole package. It was so fun. And I took my mom because she hadn't been feeling well. And we got her all dolled up. And then we went to this restaurant near where I worked, because I worked downtown in a big office tower. But our office tower was connected to the biggest mall downtown. And so I would walk through the mall every day to the subway. And we went to a restaurant there. They were holding a contest, win a trip to Barbados. So we had lunch, and I said, oh, wait a minute. I have to go back in and get the ballots, the entry tickets, and I'll put them in later, because you got them from the restaurant, and then you had to go all the way down to the other end of the mall to the travel agency and put them in the ballot box. So I did that, and then we were all home. It was on, I think, the 23rd of December or 24th of December. We're wrapping gifts. The phone rings, and my mom answers it, and I'm only hearing half a conversation. And the woman said to her, now I didn't hear this. She thought it was a telemarketer because the woman asked for her, but it was Christmas, so she was being nice. And the woman said to her, where is Barbados? And my mom thought, this is stupid. And she said, in the Caribbean. And the woman went, congratulations, you won a trip for 2 to Barbados. And my mom's like, this is a scam. And she goes, wait, how did I win this trip to Barbados? Well, I heard that part and I started jumping up and down. She goes, oh, because the woman's like, didn't you enter? And my mom's like, oh, I think my daughter put my name in the ballot box. I was jumping up and down. So that April, so I remember going back into work after the holidays and saying, I need a week off. I need a week off. We're going to Barbados. It was so fun. So my mom and I, we were on the first trip we ever won. And it was airfare and hotel. And I went looking. The resort doesn't look the same. It's been completely renovated since we went. I think it was the Coconut Beach Club. It was beautiful. And we had so much fun. And it was the best time. Now, I'm gunning for number 25. A local radio station is giving away trips to Barbados. And you had to text in a code word and your name. If they called you back, you qualified. So I've been doing this the whole time. And I can't get every time because sometimes I'm working, sometimes but as many times as I can get in, I get in. And I also like to increase my chances. So I'll enter George. Like if he's home, give me your phone. I'll send it in for him. So the last two, they were giving away a trip on the Monday and the Tuesday. It was near the end. It was the Friday to qualify and the Monday to qualify. They had 2 more trips. Friday morning, I get his phone. I text both of us in. His phone rings. I look at the phone and he thought it was his buddy calling him about what work job they were going to that day. And I saw the call letters of the radio station. I just about lost my mind. I fling it on. I'm like, answer the phone. And he's like, hello. And they're like, where are you? He's like, oh, I'm just waking up. And I'm like, oh my God, we qualified. We qualified for the trip. We're going to Barbados. Because he was leaving in a week. They're like, do you have passports? We're like, yes. I've just renewed my passport. So brand new passport. I'm like, yes, this is the best thing. We're going. My first trip was Barbados. My 25th trip will be Barbados. I was so excited. Next thing I did was I looked at my calendar. What do I have booked for the week that I'm going to be away? What can I move? And I realized I had my hair appointment. And this is the lesson I want to teach everybody here. Because I was on my way to Barbados until I wasn't. Now, what happens is all day people qualify. So there's only 6 qualifiers. You have a 1 in 6 chance of being called the next day. Now, of course, we qualified on a Friday, so we weren't going to be called till the Monday, which I think for me might have been part of the problem because I had too long to ruminate. And frankly, I did not sleep Sunday night because I realized my mistake after I did it. So Friday, I think, okay, logically, what do I have? So this week I had my sweepstakes Q&A on the Monday night. I thought I can do that from Barbados. Tonight I had this. I'm like, oh, this would be fantastic to talk about from Barbados, about how I manifested the trip. And then Thursday I had my haircut, and Friday I have a podcast, but I thought I could always duck out from the pool and go do a podcast and come back. Why not, right? Talk about right? I can do that. It would make for an interesting story. So it was going from the 23rd to the 30th. And then every morning this week, the radio station is broadcasting live. They're doing little videos. And if you can call in, if they give the cue to call, if you're caller 25 and can answer the question, you're in the draw for another bonus. I have not had any luck doing that yet. Anyway, I have a hair appointment set for the 28th. Like I get my hair done every 10 to 12 weeks. And color cut. I immediately message my hairdresser and say, do you have any appointments next week? I'm going to Barbados. And he said, yes, I have one on the 18th at 3:00. And then I hesitated. This is my mistake. And said, well, let me think about it for the weekend. Because then I'm like, oh, I'll wait to win it. And then I'll take the appointment. And he said, it might be gone by then. And I went, no, it's okay. I'll take a chance. Oh, People, this is where I made my critical mistake. I should have said, yes, I need that appointment because I'm going to be in Barbados and I have to have my hair done. You know, fresh the do, book the nail appointment, book everything, right? I didn't do that. Then I think it was maybe sometime on Saturday or Sunday, I realized I should have taken the appointment. And I messaged him back and said, hey, can I get that appointment? And he said, sorry, it's already been booked. And I went, no, that's fine. And my heart sank. I just sank. I'm like, oh. And then, of course, I'm trying to plan stuff. I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll just plan the other things anyway. Meanwhile, I'm feeling a little sick because I knew what I had done wrong. And sure enough, George didn't get a call on Monday morning. And I was so sad. We were up at 6. I couldn't sleep. I was wired. He ran and got a coffee. We always go to the coffee shop around the corner. He likes his Tim Hortons. So he gets a Tim Hortons. We're having our coffee. We're waiting for the phone to ring. So we're listening to the radio. Lisa won. I was like, I was so mad at myself because I knew what I had done. And you think, right? Now, Helene is famous for her 4-step SPEC method: select it, project it, expect it, collect it. But if you've seen my other video, No SPEC, she actually didn't win anything using SPEC. She read Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and used 3 steps that she used to win. Now, she loved play on words and wanted to help people master the law of attraction. So over the years, in the 1988 edition of the Name It and Claim It game, she had SPE, select it, project it, expect it. And then in 2009, she wrote the full article with SPEC, and you can find that on the website. And she also has an expanded version called SPEC Explained. You can find that there also. But if you have this edition of the Name It and Claim It game, part 1 right here, this is her original book. This is the 19. Now, sorry, it didn't, I put SPEC there. Her first book actually ended at Maneuvers for Witchcraft. And then Helene added SPEC in, but Helene had 0 editing skills. God bless her. She was working with an older, like, you got to remember the technology. It was 2009. She's editing her version of this book, the 1988 version, at home, plugging in wherever she can. The whole book was edited with the space bar and the return key. God bless her, but she was technologically challenged. And so she tagged it. She's just stuck the SPEC thing somewhere. And I'm like, no, you can't end the Maneuvers for Witchcraft chapter with select it, project it, expect it, collect it, and then not immediately follow it with the SPEC chapter. Now, one of the things we found when we were doing the Audible books is sometimes we've had to flip chapters and things, so the story is more continuous. With that happened in here. We moved a chapter because it flowed better. We did that with In Contact with Other Realms, and I've just done it with Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage, because I was saying, hey, she talks about this here and this here. Well, they actually need to be reversed. So we're doing that. And then I physically changed the book. And my goal is to maintain Helene Hadsell's legacy to the best of my ability. So if that means moving chapters around, so her work is presented in a better format because I have the technological skills that she didn't, I'm doing that. Okay. So you're not actually losing any work. You're just getting it in a more cohesive order. Okay. Anyway, in her title chapter, the Name It and Claim It game, she features her 3-part system. And number 1 is set a goal. Well, mine was go to Barbados. Number 2 was, oh, what? Can you read that? Never entertain doubts. We're going to read that again. And the last one was, you can con yourself into anything. Okay. By repeating it over and over again until one day it's incorporated into your thinking. That's a little more of changing your subconscious mind. But we're going to focus on the part that I just completely tripped over in my everyday life as being a messy human. Oh, I can't even read this without going, I should be having sunscreen on. Step number 2, never entertain doubts. This nullifies all good, strong, powerful, positive currents. Ugh. The second contest I entered was a jingle type where one had to complete the last line of a phrase. Now, this was very common in the 50s and 60s. If you saw the movie or read the book, The Prize Winner of Defiance, Ohio, the subtitle of that book is How I Raised 10 Children on 25 Words or Less. So that was very common. In the marketing world, we call it UGC, user generated content. Now we think of it as videos and pictures, recipes, essays, photographs, those kinds of things. In those days, it was mainly jingles, and then the companies would use that in their advertising. So that was what Helene was entering, those types of giveaways. It was at the end of the contest era and the beginning of the sweepstakes era, because the house that she so famously won was actually a sweepstakes, not a contest. Okay, so the contest, so when you have to do a skill, it's generally labeled a contest. The prize was a second telephone installed in your home with the bills paid for a year. Yeah, no cell phones then. I can only imagine, right? If she had a cell phone with, can you see her on TikTok? Give her a YouTube channel. YouTube was actually around when she was here, but because she wasn't techie, I wish I had figured that out and had the equipment. Can you imagine if I'd had the wherewithal to have a YouTube channel and film her when I went to visit? I don't think we could have gone live, though, because she had zero internet. I had to go to Starbucks like 20 minutes away to get any signal to check my email. I thought about how convenient it would be if I could have a phone installed in the kitchen, since I spent most of my time in that part of the house. When I sent off my 3 entries, I used the same positive thinking I had applied to my motor win. Remember, her first contest, she won the outdoor motor for her husband. I knew it would be a winner, and again, I questioned how long it would take the company to inform me. Again, different times. Right now, you can win instantly. They didn't have that opportunity back then. It took 5 weeks after the contest closed before I received the letter telling me I was a winner. So what they did in the mail days, they had to close the contest, and then they would wait so many days for all the mail that was postmarked by the closing date to be received. Then they would do a drawing, and then, of course, they would notify a potential winner. And until you return the release forms, they wouldn't declare you an official winner. So that's why it would take 5 weeks. I had no way of knowing which entry actually won. In the meantime, we decided to move to a larger home and move from Grand Prairie to Irving, Texas. The company that sponsored the telephone contest was kind enough to send a check instead of the phone service for a year. By now, the family was quite impressed with their mother, who had only made 2 attempts at entering contests and won both. In the next effort to win contests, the family joined in. So you see, she enters and doesn't think twice about it. Now, one of the things I found interesting when I was doing the Audible edition of this book was she weaves really profound lessons in her stories. And I didn't hear some of them until I was actually reading it out loud. So I highly recommend that if you are like me and like motivational, inspirational, educational type books, anything like this style of book where you're changing your mindset, read them, but at some point read them out loud to yourself, and you will be amazed at the information that you pick up, because you're reading it, you're saying it, and you're hearing it. And as I remember doing the Audible book, I remember sometimes thinking, holy cow, this is so profound. How did I never pick up on the depth of this when I've edited the book like a gazillion times? So a request came from our daughter, then 12 years old. She wanted a bicycle. She called my attention to a contest advertisement in the Sunday paper's comic section. The requirement was to name a pony. We got so carried away this time that we submitted 7 entries, and she won a girl's blue bicycle 4 weeks after the contest closed. We had no way of determining which one of the names actually impressed the judges, but we did have great fun being creative and coining original apt names. The following were the names that we sent: Footprints, Himbuktu, Fancy Prance, Stirrup Dust, Stan Piedro, Twinkle Toes, and Prance Charming. Our 8-year-old son, Chris, was next to put in his bid. He too wanted a shiny new bicycle. At that time, a candy contest was in progress and the top prizes were bicycles. We were to compete in 15 words why we liked their candy product. Again, we made a family project of writing ideas, and this endeavor we submitted 4 entries. Now the children were sure we just had to win, that we all waited eagerly for the mailman to bring us the letter making it official. We now realized it took from 2 to 6 weeks after the contest closes before the winners would be notified. And of course, he won the bicycle. This time we were interested in which entry actually won. We came up with this method. We submitted the first entry in his full name, Chris Vince Hadsell. For the second entry, we used only Chris Hadsell. The third signature was Chris V. Hadsell, and the fourth was CV Hadsell. This way, we were able to determine the winning 15 words, and they were: so colorful, so neat, so nice and plump. They're chewable pick-me-ups for a midday slump. The letter telling him he won was addressed to the name we used to submit the entry. We were describing why we like candy-coated licorice pieces. Children's contests are great to encourage family help. Now, children's contests have changed dramatically, and they're not as prevalent as they used to be, maybe in local areas and digitally. You could download something and print it off, or a lot of companies will say, I've seen it with different candy products. So they'll have like an Instagram contest, and what you have to do is you have to go to the website, download the coloring page, have your children color it, and then you submit the category. You put like Bobby. You don't put your legal name on the internet for the kids. So you just say Bobby, age 6, and this is the title of his entry, and you hashtag and tag the company, and you put it on Instagram. And then they select the winners, they'll DM you, and then they get all the information. I haven't seen contests like this in a while. The letter telling him, the idea of keying entries like this was not original to us, as later we learned quite a few contestants use this method to key their entries and to know which one of their brain children actually won the prize. At this time, there were so many contests and so many prizes, one had a choice of what one wanted, which to enter. Perhaps instead, we had only become more aware of opportunities for obtaining the things we would like to have in life. Yes, there's tons of contests going on, and we're just entering sweepstakes season. If you want to know all about sweepstakes season, you got to head over to Contest Queen, because I am not going to repeat that here. However, there are just as many winning opportunities, except the entry methods have dramatically changed. I inject this for anyone who sees this as luck. The fact that we did, listen to this is important. The fact that we did win the first time we entered helped us gain confidence. There's an old cliche that goes like this: if at first you don't succeed, try again. Had I not won my first try, I feel my positive attitude would have urged me to continue to enter anyway. So I didn't win the trip, but you can believe I'm going to continue to enter. I've since realized that with positive thinking outlook, there is no failure, only a delay in results. Okay, so I know I'm going to win trip number 25. That I do not doubt. Which one it is, that I apparently doubted. She says, think about it. The imaging faculty played a leading part in the goals I wish to achieve. I recommend, in order to play any game successfully, train your faculty of imagination. Now, she had not met Jose Silva at the time she won these contests that she's writing about. However, by the time she wrote the book, she was already working for Jose. And one of the techniques in the Silva method is the mirror of the mind. Okay, so basically the short of it, I'm not going to give you a whole Silva method lesson, is you basically are picturing your goal and then, or a problem, and then you replace it with what you want to see. So you might see yourself standing in an empty living room, and then what you want to see is you sitting on a beautiful couch that you won, right? Watching a TV that you won. And that's what you switch. And that's what you focus on, is the image, the future image. You're bringing it into the present. You're changing your, it's called mirror of the mind, because you're mirroring what you want to see with what the reality is. And then it eventually becomes that. So it's a technique where you're already living in the end result. Who does that sound like? Neville Goddard. We're going to be getting to him in a minute. But anyway, even after I had doubted, I still went ahead and spent some time. I want to show you, I went and created this for last night's live stream. Yeah. Dang. I didn't win it. Because I doubted. I knew afterwards when we didn't win. The second that I didn't take the hair appointment, as if I was already going, as if they had already called, I should have dragged the luggage out. We should have started packing. I should have been living in the end result, because had I won the second he got called, like if we had won, like if it was an instant win, for example, I would have taken the appointment. I would have done this. I would have done that. That's how I should have reacted. And I didn't. So so I'm going to repeat this because it's so profound to me. I have since realized that with a positive thinking outlook, there is no failure, only a delay in results. Think about it. Now, sometimes, and I'm going to say this is something that I've come to the conclusion of after speaking with her son, Dyke, that she had some goals that I'm accomplishing for her. Helene wanted her books translated. I'm publishing her third book in Spanish, and I'm working on 3 other translations of this now. They're being proofed. Hopefully they'll be out in 25. The proofing stage is the toughest for me to get the proofreaders. So they're all translated. I need them proofed, and then they go to layout, and then they get published. So I'm working on German, French, and Italian for the Name It and Claim It game. It's already out in Spanish. In Contact with Other Realms is already in Spanish. Right now, A Man Called Friday, I'm just waiting on the cover. It's done. Everything's up in online, ready to hit publish. I'm just waiting for the artwork and the website and the different links, and it'll be out. So I'm thinking this week. And she also wanted to make books on CD or books on tape. Yeah, it was a little minute ago. Dyke had even bought her a tape recorder. He said he bought her a tape recorder. Can you imagine? I'm in a full-on studio with equipment like you can't even imagine. Like the producer, the engineer, the audio engineer, he's brilliant. I call him the ear because he hears things that I can't even in the tracks. He goes, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, "No, what?" He goes, Yeah, we're redoing that. I'm like, okay. He hears things. I'm like, I'll trust your judgment, or I'll think there's something there. And I'll say, you listen to this, you tell me. And he goes, no, that's fine. I'm like, okay. And we'll go through as we're editing. And Dyke had just bought her a little tape recorder to record. Anyway, It still would have been wonderful to have her on tape. I've put as many tapes as I have found with her online, and you can go listen. And one of them was so degraded that after he was able to copy it digitally, it snapped, and he cleaned it up the best he could. And he cleaned it up the best he could, and it's still very difficult. And then YouTube degrades it, like when I have to load it to YouTube. So I also uploaded it like a direct file to my website if you wanted to go and listen again. It's a little bit better. You have to listen really closely. It took me a while to realize it was her, but that's how much the tape had degraded. And we realized it was number 2 of 3. And I've looked twice. The other 2 are, I don't know what happened to them. So anyway, she wanted her books on tape. So I have 3 of her books on Audible right now. We're doing the edits right now on the 4th Audible book. And then I'm going to be starting on Tag Powell's. And I'll be working with an actor, because Tag had such a deep, profound voice. If you listen to any of his tapes, I have 1 set so far uploaded, Instant Money. And he was so charismatic and profound as a teacher with like a great voice. I'm like, I can't do a man's book. So I'm going to read my parts, like the foreword, the afterword, any of the notes that I added. And I'm hiring an actor to do the narration for him, like that has the same kind of tone. It's going to sound wonderful. I can hardly wait. That's a 2025 project. We're going to be doing that next year. I'm so excited. And look, I even brought a mug, an old mug from Helene's. So I thought I'd bring it here while we're talking about her. So yeah, so some goals are so big that they eclipse your lifetime. The imaging, okay, and I'll read this part again. The imaging faculty played a leading part in the goals I wish to achieve. I recommend, in order to play any game successfully, train your faculty of imagination. So if you want to learn more about the Silva method, if you go to my Words for Winning website, there is a free introductory class you can take. It happens about every 2 weeks or so. It's Stephen Dobosh runs it, and it'll give you a sample. It runs about 90 minutes. It's on Zoom, and it gives you a taste of what the Silva method's all about. And and it's almost identical. This is what blows me away. It's almost identical to the actual introductory class that Helene Hadsell took from Jose Silva in 1966. What? Cool. So that will give you a sense of why she added that into the book. So she says, if the prize appealed to us, we all worked on that contest to win. To suffice it to say, we won bats, balls, radios, dolls, games, electrical appliances, and cash prizes. In other words, you name it, and we claimed it. I was reluctant at that time to vie for any contest that offered trips because I was afraid to fly. Now, if you've seen the Mind Valley ads, because Vishen Lakhani and his team in 2009 went to Alvarado, Texas, and interviewed Helene, you see how many trips he talks about, all the trips she won. And she did travel all over the world, but she was terrified of flying at this time. So she didn't want to go. I had already told myself that if I did win a trip, I would not take it. So I never gave that type of contest any consideration or energy, right? So she's not thinking about it. She's not giving it energy. In other words, I was content with the comforts like blankets, bicycles, and the basics, but that soon changed. The day our 2 sons, Dyke and Chris, saw a contest for a trip to a dude ranch in Arizona, they said, wow, that might be family fun. And I wanted to go, but flying was out of the question. However, we did enter the contest. To make a long story short, we won the trip. Again, this contest called for the children to name a pony, and we submitted the same names we used in the other pony naming contest, and noted that this time the name Stan Pedro was the winner. When the forms came about, flight schedules, I requested we be allowed to go by train. I refused to go by plane. I did not realize it was a prepackaged deal for the winners and fly you must. When I refused, we were disqualified. We did, however, receive a nice second place prize of a movie camera. However, my sons were very disappointed. And what's really interesting is nowadays, if you were the grand prize winner and you didn't accept the trip, that's it. You get nothing. They would not offer you another prize. Now, that said, sometimes there's a cash option, and it happened a lot when the pandemic locked things down. Prizes that were to be shipped or people had to participate, the sponsors chose to send checks instead. And there's always a clause. Remember, the official rules are a legal and binding contract between the sponsor and the entrant. And there's always a clause in there in the favor of the sponsor, of course, that states that they can substitute the prize if they wish. And so I've had it happen where the prize that was promised in the rules wasn't available. They sent me something else, which was just as awesome. And then they sent something else to make up the value of the prize. So I would still win the same prize value because they didn't want me disappointed, which I thought was amazing. And technically, legally, they don't have to do that. But smartly, from marketing, they should. So when I had time to consider the immaturity of my groundless fear of air travel, I had to do some powerful positive thinking to convince myself that planes are quite safe. Right? So in contact with other realms, when she needs, Jose tells her she needs to go to Detroit to open it up and he needs to come up there to start teaching. She's like, no way, Jose, I'm not getting on a plane. And she talked to her husband about it, thinking he would side with her. And he said, isn't it time you got over your fear of flying? And she said, yeah. And he said, how many times have you taken the Silva method? And at this point, she's working for Jose. And she said, probably about 10. Because if you're not busy, you sit in on the class. So when I assist, I take, 80% of the class. So he said, maybe you should use the techniques you're learning from Jose to get over your fear of flying. And she was not impressed. So this is where she gets this powerful positive thinking to convince myself that planes are quite safe. I told myself I would enjoy flying, and in the future I would enter contests and vie for trips because they would be fun. In other words, I was conning myself for the big lift. I finally convinced myself with all the positive thinking that the only way to go is fly. I call this the Die As You Fly program, knowing my fears would die when I'd actually experienced the venture. In the meantime, I was scared stiff. What a challenge. What a conflict. Wow. So even when she didn't want to go, she won. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. So now I wanted to read you guys what Neville Goddard had. And let me see if I had it here. Oh dear. I accidentally clicked off it. So let me see if I can get it back. I wanted to read it to you. It was a fantastic quote. There was 2 quotes from Neville that were just amazing. And they're actually on Instagram on a channel called Simple Neville, right? And it's a post from last year called How to Overcome Doubts and Fears in Your Manifestation Journey. And it says, do you ever feel invincible while imagining, only to be clouded by doubt and fear at the very next moment? You're not alone. In the teachings of Neville Goddard, these doubts and fears are an indication that you're still bound to your former state of consciousness, but don't worry, there's a way out. 1, understand and accept that doubts and fears are natural. You are human after all. I did say that. I'm a messy human. Oh, Helene, total messy human. She was terrified to fly. It's not about never having them. It's about handling them. 2, keep faith in the law of assumption. That's right. Neville said, live in the end and you will have no doubt. Right? So had I lived in the end, I would have had my hair done. I would have had a nail appointment. I would have done all the things. 3, persist in your imaginal act in spite of the contrary. Right? I didn't actually have the ticket to Barbados, but I should have acted as if I'd already had the ticket. This means to hold on to the image of what you want to manifest until it becomes your reality. 4, affirm your worthiness and greatness. How would you feel if you were now the person that you wanted to be? Feel that way. It is done. Remember, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. No kidding. I should be tanned. Let the words of Neville Goddard guide you towards overcoming your doubts and fears during your manifestation journey. Stay strong in your journey of manifesting your own reality. And remember, you aren't doing it wrong. You're just still learning. Of course, right? Helene Hadsell says right in her books, this is Earth's school. And we will learn till we die. That sounds long. So those were what I wanted to show you guys. Now I'm going to answer some questions. Caroline, when I was talking about Helene, and she said, computers had the insert key. It allows to mend, includes words as required. Yeah, I don't even know if she knew how to do that. Like, she was really not techie at all. Oh, this is a fun one. What's the biggest thing you intentionally won? And I'll tell you what it was. It was a trip for 2 to Whistler, BC, for the closing ceremonies of the Winter Olympics, when it went from Torino, Italy to Whistler. So they have the closing ceremonies in Italy, and then you see them pass the torch to Canada. And when they cut to Whistler, they want a crowd, right? Woo, we're Canadians. We're doing the next one 4 years from now. And I actually ended up winning a trip to that Olympics. So we won at the announcement of the Olympics. And then 4 years later, we went back to the Olympics. So we were supposed to go to Australia. And so there was a bunch of contests I wasn't entering, because one of the things I teach is look at your calendar, because if you're going to be away or you already have something planned, check the dates of events. Because if it's, tickets to a concert and you're already busy that night, or like, for example, we already have tickets for December 5th to go see Rapunzel, won them, of course. But there's a heap of other contests right now. They're giving away tickets to all kinds of other events on the same date. So I've been checking the dates. Oh, no, we can't enter that one. I mean, I could, but what's the point? I can't go. Now, life sometimes does happen. I've had events where I've entered so excited to possibly win. Life happens. Then I get notified I won, and I tell the people I'm so embarrassed. When I entered, I was available, but we've had a change of plans. I can't go now. Please give the tickets to somebody else. That is fine. Life happens. But, check your calendar and make sure. So we were supposed to be in Australia. So there was a ton of giveaways I wasn't entering. And then the whole trip got scrapped. So I started entering for all the ones that I was missing, because I thought, well, now we're going to be here. I might as well enter for all these. And what was really interesting was there was that one to go to Whistler. And it was Bell Canada, and they were giving away a trip a day. There's 2 parts to this. This is really interesting. So there was one contest I was entering to go fly somewhere. I can't remember where it was. There's a Canadian band called Simple Plan. Okay. And so I was entering that giveaway to win the trip to, I can't remember where. And it was the last day of the contest. And I remember hitting the enter key and saying, see you guys soon. Okay. Then Bell Canada was having a giveaway, a trip a day to Whistler. And every day they would put up a different challenge, and you had to complete the challenge and submit your entry. Well, one night, my husband, he was on a bowling league. Now, I used to bowl with him, but after we had Lane, I would stay home, and he still liked to go to the bowling league, which was good. And so it was the evening. I'll never forget it. She was 3 years old, and I think it was our second digital camera. So digital cameras are just kind of coming out. I think it was our second one. It was 2006. So she was almost 4. She was almost 4, 3.5. And the challenge was you had to pretend you were on the luge and submit your entry. So he's not home. So I lie down on the living room floor looking like I'm terrified or something. And I give her the camera and I say, take a picture. I'm teaching this little kid. I mean, kids now, they're just so intuitive with this stuff. But back then it was still new. So I got her to take a picture of me and I submitted it. Okay. Well, we won the trip. Now here's where it gets crazy. We fly to BC. We ask them, and this is a contest tip. This is where Words for Winning and Contest Queen kind of intermingle. You can change trips a lot of times. So we asked them if we could stay longer because my in-laws lived out in BC. And if we could also take our daughter, we would, of course, pay for her ticket. It wasn't part of the prize. But if they booked them all together, then the 3 of us could go. She could go with her grandparents. We would go to Whistler, and then we would go to their house afterwards and stay longer. I mean, they're paying for the airfare there and back anyway. And generally, when you stay longer, it's cheaper. So they're happy. They're not spending as much money. So I asked them this. They're like, yeah, no problem. So we go on this family vacation. We get to Whistler, and we are watching the festivities. We have tickets. We have VIP seating in some areas and all these things. It was fantastic. And they had entertainment, live entertainment. It was Simple Plan. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And then afterwards, we all got to go and meet them. I have an autographed picture of us with the band. That was the craziest one for me because I said, see you soon. So I had no idea that it was going to be somewhere else as part of another trip. You got to let go of the how. I could still get to Barbados. I just don't know how. So that's the biggest thing I went intentionally. It was a trip to Whistler for the Olympic Games, for the closing, like for the torch handoff ceremony. And yeah, crazy. We didn't change the Olympic trip though, because BC was so crazy at that time and flights were impossible to get. We just took the trip as it was. We didn't change that one. Oh yeah, sometimes, yeah, see, Yvonne says they had all the family energy working together. Yes, that is one of the things. The more energy that's put towards something, that's why when they say 2 or more people come together to pray, it amplifies the energy. You'll find that. So one of the things I find for me, and I believe other people feel the same way, when I'm attending the Silva method and we have like 50 people in a room meditating, those meditations are so much deeper for me and so much stronger because the room, I mean, we're all meditating on the same thing. It's amazing. Because how the Silva method works is they'll teach them a method, like the glass of water technique or the mirror of the mind or all the different ones. And then, so they'll teach the lesson and how it works. And then we do a meditation on it. And then they'll teach a lesson and then you meditate. So about 25 to 30% of the course, you're actually meditating. So in a 4-day weekend, you'll meditate like 10 or 12 hours. It's a lot of meditation. You get out of there, you're like, wow. But it's also so amazing because you're in a room with all these people. So it's the same thing. And yeah, Yvonne says, sometimes I've won things from the US and they sent me an Amazon gift card. And yeah, sometime again, like I said, it's in the rules. The sponsor has the right to check. Okay, so this is cool. What do you do to intentionally manifest it? Now, this is where I differ from Helene. Now, she said to me, and I don't remember if she said this in one of the interviews or just told me, she said, I split my energy. In her day, how they used to enter a contest is they'd find one in the paper or a magazine or see it in the grocery store or whatever, and they'd say, oh yeah, we want to win that. They would all enter that. They would all focus on that, and they would win that. They wouldn't do what we do now. Now, if you attend one of my classes, or I give away a sweepstakes masterclass every month, if you attend that, you'll see that what we do now is so different. Like, I have lists. Here's all the ones that have instant prizes. Here's my top 10. Here's all the dailies. You know, a good sweeper who's organized can enter about 100 to 150 contests in an hour. Now, you'll also notice I'm using the word sweepstakes, contest, and giveaway interchangeably, even though legally, by definition, they're different. So she says, and I'm scattering my energy. And to me, part of the fun of the hobby is dreaming about all the different prizes and then being so excited when one of them shows up. Like if you go to my contest queen, this was kind of funny. I thought we needed new luggage, and Monster was having a giveaway, and I thought it was a small carry-on, like, you know, like this big. Like, I don't know, what's the carry-on size? 20 inches, you know? This thing showed up. It is massive. It is a full-on suitcase. Yeah. But when I was entering, you're entering on your phone and you're putting in codes, and the pictures of the prizes are like this big. So I thought it was much smaller, and it doesn't give dimensions in the rules. It just says travel, you know, rolling bag. It doesn't give like size. So you're like, okay, I'll take that travel rolling bag, you know? And then the box arrived, and I went, oh, that is not a carry-on. And then I thought, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's shorter than the box. Because, you know, sometimes they put padding. No, it was the whole box. Anyway, but she says I split my energy. I don't like, it doesn't feel good to me to pick one thing and just focus on the one thing. I like the surprise of, oh, we're going here. Oh, we got tickets to that. Let's go here. You know, all different things. You know, I personally like that. So now if you want to intentionally win, then, so for example, what I tell people to do is, say you decide you want a trip, then start to get ready. Check to see that your passport's up to date. Do you have all the necessary, you know, are you flying to countries that need vaccines? You know, just check to see if they're available in your area. I wouldn't go and do that kind of thing just for the heck of it. But, you know, if I'm traveling to certain countries, they have certain requirements. Make sure you have all the requirements for every country. Like, go and read and see, okay, if I'm going here, I'm going to need a visa. Okay, make a note of it. What do you need if you go here? What do you need? We're making sure that we have up-to-date luggage, right? We did buy a carry-on. My other carry-on's good. We're assessing. This Monster one is actually too big for the trip that we're going on. The irony of winning a suitcase that is too big. So we are probably still going to have to buy one more suitcase. But now that it's Black Friday and Christmas sales and things, we're looking around for the deals, and we're going to pick up another couple of suitcases to make sure that we have them ready to go. I would have been, you know, I would have just used one of the old suitcases we have for this upcoming trip, because we had the new little one, and the other smaller ones are okay. It's just the really big one that I use. If you go back and look at my Contest Queen videos of where I packed all the prizes for Las Vegas, which was insane. I ended up taking 3 suitcases. I don't know what I was thinking. One of them was so damaged, but I didn't have time to go and get a new suitcase. We just duct taped it. I said, let me just use it for this trip and then we'll throw it away and I'll figure out something after I get back from Vegas. We've kind of been looking, but we haven't really put a push on it. But now we need to put a push on it. So just check the things, or say you want a dream kitchen. We'll start entering every giveaway that has small appliances, large appliances, kitchen gear, renovations, cash and gift cards, because then you could use those to pay for the kitchen. So anything kitchen related. And then you can make a folder called kitchen prizes and then just focus on all those giveaways first. And then the other ones are all bonus. Yeah, then you're prepared when you win. And I'll give you an example of this. I knew that if you want to travel, everyone has to have their passport. My daughter had her passport at 3 months old. When we won a trip to England for the family, she was 3.5. This was the summer. This was the fall before the Whistler trip. So 6 months earlier. So she was like 3, and she was born in May. So she was like not quite 3.5 when we went. She was just over 3 when we won it, because by the time we went in and then you go. So the ladies we're doing all the paperwork, and you have to fill in the winner, and then you have to have a sheet for every person going. And then of course we fill in hers and put in, we sign as a parent. And the lady was calling it was his name that was picked as the grand prize winner. So the lady at the newspaper, it was actually in a newspaper, was calling him back and saying, everybody has their paperwork. We're like, yeah. She's like, everybody. I'm like, yeah. She was baffled that a 3-year-old had their passport already. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. But we were ready to go. We had her passport. And so we've always had passports just in case. And actually, when we travel, even domestically, we always took our passports, because what if something happens to the plane and it gets rerouted, right? Like we'd fly a lot to his parents out in BC. But if something happened to the plane and it had to go into, say, Seattle to land for emergency landing, if we had our passports, we could get out. But if we didn't have our passports, we'd kind of be stuck until we could get back into Canada somehow. So we always took our passports, and we even have our Nexus cards. So it's like TSA. So it gets me through driving faster. It gets me through it's TSA pre-check. It's all these things. And we all have it. She's had it for 10 years, since she was like 12. So we're always ready to go at a moment's notice. And when I got back from my last trip, we're going away in January, not a trip win, just to see friends. And I needed to update my passport, because I thought, okay, some countries, they don't like it if you're less than 6 months to renewal. So I said, okay, I better get a new one right now. And it was going to take a month. And so I put in my new passport. I thought, okay, I got a window. Well, wouldn't you know, while I'm waiting for my passport, a sweepy friend messages me and says, hey, I want a trip. Did you want to come with me? And I'm like, no, I don't have a passport. No, Murphy's Law. I said, oh, well. The only time I don't have one is the window of renewal. Anyway, it's fine. Oh, listen's interesting. Manifestation yourself. Oh, sorry. I think it's a 2-parter. Let's start here. Oh, maybe it's a 3-parter. Let's see. Okay, here we go. When manifesting the Mega Millions lottery, would you personally imagine holding your check, being at a press conference, talking to an accountant, or partying after, or seeing your bank account with a payment from the lottery? I'm kind of imagining all of the above, also feelings of abundance and feeling a great adventure. Would you have anything specific for the Mega Millions? Lottery, manifestation yourself. I've manifested a lot of money with crypto in the past, so I don't see this as impossible. I don't see it as impossible either. I have never focused on the lottery myself. Maybe I should. One night, I even had a dream of the lottery numbers, and I woke up in kind of a blur, and I didn't write them down. And then I tried to remember them. And then I didn't go buy a ticket with what I thought were the numbers. And then I think they might have actually been picked. And I don't want to think about that. But if you go over to Timothy Schultz's channel on people winning the lottery, he's done interviews with people who have done the various manifestation techniques. And Cynthia, I think it's Stafford, actually used Helene's SPEC method to win the lottery. Now, I've contacted her. I'm hoping to get her. I would love to interview her myself because, hello. And he's had other people. So he had one fella manifest a house win by, you know how they give away houses? I think it was a charity one where you buy the tickets and it supports a local charity and they give away like houses and cars and things. And the house was open for viewing. And so he went to the house to see it. And he walked into the garage and just envisioned the moving truck backing up and then putting all the boxes in the garage. And he just had his stuff in the house waiting for the draw so that the energy of his stuff was already there, that they won the house. And like I said, Cynthia used Helene's SPEC method. And there's other ones. And there's one that was just loaded up today. I haven't seen it yet. I'm very excited. Someone used Nikola Tesla's 369 method to win $47,369. What? In the lottery. So I would go and watch that one. Oh, and you won $1,000 scratch off. Oh, I watched Timothy. I've imagined myself being interviewed by him. Hello. So now what you're just going to work on is divine timing. Now, here's a resource that I'm going to suggest, and I didn't pull it up. And I have it behind here because normally if I have resources I want to share, I have them out here. This one, her name is, let me just pull up her, and I'm going to put it in the chat. Her name is Amy Jo Ellis, and she does something called the Court of Atonement. And I love her stuff. I bought all her books. All of her books are like $20. I think they're $5 each. Like seriously $5 each. And she has a website called the Court of Atonement. Hang on, I'm just trying to get to it here. Yeah. Okay. So you can go look at her different books. Now she has one called it's book 4. And it's not right on the homepage. So you know what? Let me go find the page for the books. Okay. And what the Court of Atonement is, she actually has a new book called The Court of Atonement Explained. Okay. So let me go put this in the chat so you guys can check it out. And yeah, can you imagine? Oh, I had a vision of myself holding a check one morning upon waking, but I couldn't see what lottery it was for. Oh, I guess you just have to keep entering different tickets. Can you imagine me winning, having great success when I manifest with other people? And you have to be absolutely right mindset for it since you see it as possible. Yeah. Now, I'm going to say that, what was her name? Sylvia Brown talked about this. And Robert Ohado has also talked about this. It has to also kind of be in your soul contract to manifest. So if I decided right now at my age that I wanted to be an Olympic athlete, you know, for something at my physicality, even with the proper mindset and all the physical training, it probably wouldn't happen because it's not part of my contract, my soul contract, and I don't have it in me to go there. It's not something that's just going to manifest for me. No matter how much I envision it, no matter how much I exercise, no matter how many weights I lift, no how far I run, it's probably not going to happen. And I also don't have the athlete archetype. It's just not something that I came in with, right? I have the writer, I have the orator, I have the networker, I have the mystic, I have the Queen, of course. I have the Entrepreneur, right? I have all these ones. I've been told I have the Alchemist. I also have the Wounded Healer, because if you look at Sylvia Brown, the psychic, she said, if it's in your soul contract to have a house, envision the best house you can have, whenever that is. Right? How many of my clients have won? I don't know, countless. Like, I have testimonials, but I can't tell you the number of people that have, like, I've been teaching for almost 20 years. And one of the most successful, who gives me credit, is Tom Cavalli. And because of where he lives and the opportunities for him to win, he's American, I'm Canadian. He read my book in 2008. So I started in 2001. I've won close to $400,000 in cash and prizes, including 24 trips, working on number 25. He's been entering since 2008. He's passed the $1 million mark in prizes, and he's closing in on 100 trips. And part of it is where you live. And he now runs I Win Contest, the newsletter. I highly recommend it. And it's funny because he's off on a trip right now, and he always has to remind people that I'm away. And no, I didn't win this one, because we just assume that everything he does, he won it. Oh, I don't believe in soul contracts. That's a power outside of myself. I brought the pearl of a great price, and I can see getting gold first place. Nothing's to imagine. That's interesting. I really liked Soul Contracts by Carolyn Mace. And the book that totally changed my life, obviously the Name It and Claim It game, but the one that's not listed here is one by Robert Ohotto called the Transforming Fate into Destiny. So you might find that one interesting. Like I said, I am the networker here. I'm going to post that one in the chat to his website. His book is at the bottom, but he has YouTubes. He's always doing different things. You can check him out. He's one of my favorite teachers. I've learned so much from him. And my archetypes and how I work through the world and everything. It's very interesting. Oh, see, there are no coincidences. What a coincidence. I was watching a clip with psychic Angela Ford last night, which led me to Sylvia Brown. I watched a full video on her last night by Dr. Grande. Yeah, she was an interesting character. I saw her live once at a Hay House event, and she came out and she sat down and she brought the mic to her. And when she was talking, she sounded like an old drag queen who'd smoked for 40 years. She had this gravelly, deep voice, like she'd been smoking too much. Oh, and she was funny. We were laughing so hard. And then to do readings with her, what they did was as people were coming in, they gave everybody tickets, and you tore it in half and put one half in the thing. And then they would randomly draw a number, and those people got a reading, and they did 25 during the night. And it was so fun. Yeah, I recommend listening to Neville Goddard's Pearl of a Great Price. I haven't listened to that one. I have so many books to read and so many to write. May open more possibilities for you. You're wonderful, by the way, a great historian. Yeah, that's the networker archetype. And also, well, I'll show it behind here. This is where I keep all the books I'm working on. So this is what's coming. So you've seen the ones from Helene. So I'm going to be working on the Silva Method of Mind Control Mastery, because the Money in You is already out. And this is the updated version from the 90s. So we're basically putting these two books together. And so there's overlap, but it's going to be a big book when it's done. Then I'm doing Think Wealth. This was a misprint because the spine is on the front, but it's the only copy I have. So we're going to be replicating this, right? And this one's signed by Tag. He's gone. Makes me sad. Then we've got, his wife did a set. I'll show you that set. Then he did As You Thinketh. I'll be redoing this one. He did his own version. Now I'm going to need to hire some artists to replicate the artwork, or do similar because, or their own interpretation, because I couldn't get the copyright from the author, from the illustrators. So I made the decision to just buy his interpretation. And then we have Taming the Wild Pendulum. How fun is that one going to be? No, we don't. I'm not giving away the free brass pendulum. But what's cool is this one, the introduction, was this the one with Uri Geller? There's one that I had that, oh no, maybe that's the other one. Then his wife did, and then he did, so he had 2 covers of As You Thinketh. Then he did James Allen from Power to Poverty. I'm going to be redoing that one. And then his wife, I am missing some books here. Whoops. I only have 2. There's one I'm missing. These are from her Judas. These are her interpretations. So I'm going to be doing those. I have enough books to keep me busy printing and so Tag's first book is out. I Have Money in You. So this was the original cover, and that's what it looks like now. It's a little bit changed. And his Instant Money series. So all of Helene's are done, but I have enough work with Helene to I have enough work from Helene, like some of her other works, that I'll be able to put together another book from her. So yeah. I find your videos inspiring. Oh, thank you. Manifesting energy. It's right up my alley. Well, it's just so fun, right? And you know what? It boggles my mind that it took me 10 years to figure out the clue to life is in the title of the book. Game. It's a game. We're supposed to play. We're supposed to have fun. We're supposed to experiment. We're supposed to try. We are supposed to have fun and experiment. So that's one of the things I took away from this whole Barbados fiasco is that I'm playing with it. I tried this. Oh, I dropped the ball. Oh, that's where I made a mistake. Oh, let's try. Okay, well, let's see. What else can I win? I'm trying this one. I'm doing that one. I'm sending here, right? So, you know, I'm playing with it. And then I'm using this guinea pig as an example of what not to do so you can do it better, right? Jack Canfield, I love his work. He was one of the first big teachers that I studied because I am that old. He was up and coming when I was listening to him. Anyway, he, oh no, did I just lose my train of thought? Anyway, it's fun to play and just try different things. Someone said, oh, you just gave me ideas so I can start digging around for Neville Goddard. Yeah, there should be more stuff of his. The other one I like is Alan Watt. Is it Watts? Alan Watt. And his stuff is really good. But here's what's really interesting. If you decide to take the Silva method, and I highly recommend taking it before he retires, because he's in his 70s. Go take it from Ken. Oh my gosh, why is his name escaping me? Oh, Casilla in Connecticut. He was the youngest Silva method instructor, certified by Jose himself in 1971 at 19 years of age. He's been meditating every day for 54 years. He still teaches the Silva method because he's so passionate about it. And the stories that he tells, at one point he was like explaining something and he said, oh yeah. And we had a chance to sit down with Ingo Swann. Everybody in the class is like, Ingo Swann? He's like, yeah. And then he knew I was there. So he was telling stories about Helene. He was telling stories about Tag. He had actually certified Tag. And I let him know Tag passed away. Now that I have Tag's book printed, I'm going to take him a copy. Just the stories he was telling of all these adventures. He hung out with Ram Dass before he was Ram Dass. Like, Ken has just had the craziest life since he went down this path of teaching. and studying with the Silva method. And what's really fascinating to me, the longer I study the Silva method, the more I find it's like the OG of all the programs out there. And if you look, I need to do a video on this. Of all the teachers that we like to follow, a lot of them have taken the Silva method. Like, for example, Vishen Lakhani, who owns Mind Valley, he's actually a certified Silva instructor, and he teaches, he's licensed the Silva Ultramind system from the Silvas, and the quantum jumping program that he's licensed from the Burt Goldman estate, because I was talking to the Goldmans through a crazy coincidence, and he studied with Burt, and he met Burt and hung out with Burt. And so there's so many Silva connections. So in Helene's files, I found some of Burt's books, and Tag was a Silva instructor, and Helene worked with Jose Silva. Like, there's so many Silva touch points. It's crazy. So of course it made sense for me. I'm in learning to become an instructor, because why wouldn't I? And so, yeah, so in 2 weeks, I'm going to go down to Connecticut, and I'm taking the Silva Mind Mastery System. I'm very excited. It's kind of like a 2.0 of the Silva method. So I highly recommend, and you'll see, because what they basically teach you, the short form of it, is you take action in beta, and you envision your life, and you do everything in alpha. So you go to your alpha state, and you do your mirror of the mind, your glass of water, all your techniques, all the techniques that are in the book. I mean, you're studying for 4 days, right? You're learning all these techniques. There's mental cleanup. There's the long relax. There's the glove anesthesia. There's stop the bleeding. Do you remember Helene? She met Jose. She took the course. 3 months later, New Year's Eve, she got in a car accident. She basically stopped the bleeding, saved herself. She just learned that from Jose. So, coincidence? I think not. And on my website, there's actually a letter by Paul Twitchell saying he knew that the accident was going to happen. He couldn't do anything to stop it, but he knew she would be okay, so he didn't say anything. That's crazy. So you're doing all these techniques, and now I'm going to do the next part. Anyway, I've now completely lost my train of thought. I've been talking far too long, and we're going to shut this down. I'm going to do another one next month about making 2025 a year of intention, because we want to intend what we're going to do in the next year. And my goal was to publish a book a month. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I've done 4 this year. Still pretty good. A lot of authors do one every couple of years, or, it takes them. Helene had a 30-year break in between books, and then another like 12 or 13 before the next one. Like, she had huge gaps. Then at the end, she published 2 books, 07 and 08, and she passed in 2010. So, this is a good one. The best techniques for me have been clear mind meditation. I am meditations in state akin to sleep. Always imagine something. Yeah. So that is, if you read any Mitch Horowitz, he has, just like I'm redoing Helene Hadsell stuff and Tag stuff, he's redone Neville Goddard stuff. So if you like Neville, you should follow Mitch. And he always was talking about the hypnagogic state. So that's right before you wake up and right before you fall asleep, you're connected. And that's where you can put stuff in. So the idea in the Silva method is you go down to alpha, and you set out your intentions. And then when you come out and you're in beta, you take inspired action, and it'll get you toward your goal. Like, you feel, like I should turn left here, or I should call my friend, or I should do this, or I should do that, or I should work on that book today, whatever it is. And then if you look at Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about meditating and becoming no one, no where, no how. Well, guess what? That's alpha. And then you come out and you take inspired action. It's the same. And then Robert Ohotto talks about dropping down into the cosmic heart, because the mind can't make this stuff, right? Like you can't make it with your mind. You drop down into your cosmic heart and then take action again, like alpha, and it's all tied. And yeah, I'm going to do a search on all the different teachers that have taken the Silva method. And you'd be amazed at how many teachers that we love to read about and learn about and do different things have taken the Silva method and or are instructors. It's crazy. I think it's the OG. I'm a little bit biased, maybe. Yeah, I've experienced what you're talking about time and time again. It's the truth. Yeah. And it works. It works for everybody. Anyway, I'm going to go because I feel like I'm going to lose my voice soon too. And with any luck, the next time you see me, I'm going to have won a trip because I'm out there entering, and not entering as much as I should be for someone who's the contest queen. But I'm entering enough. And anyway, I'll watch all the rest of the videos on my channel here. Hit that like button. And if you haven't seen the no spec video, go watch that. I'm also going to do one about how the math isn't mathing with Helene. She really did like to project. Her granddaughter and her son both say, well, she did like faction, fact and fiction. But I think it's because she was doing the projection techniques. And, when you put it out there, then it, you give it energy. But I think some of them were big, and some of them didn't happen, and some of them are going to happen, but just not in her lifetime. That's what I see. Anyway, we're going to be doing that. Oh, it's Amy Jo's last name. It's Ellis. I put the link in the thing here. Let me get her other website. She has another website, but she hasn't posted there in a while, but it'll give you the link. Here's her regular website, like her name. You know how a lot of authors have their name and then they have and I really like her stuff. It's a really unusual website. Like, it's not a well-known modality for clearing energy and manifesting. And she has so many funny stories about things. I did a video on the energy of money. I think it was my last one. And I actually read some stuff out of one of her books. They're only $5. Like, there's no excuse to not go and buy all of them, right? Like, they're just PDFs and you download them. And then she hosts class once or twice a week. They're very inexpensive. And then she has a Facebook group, which I'm a member of, and people create new Court of Atonement, I'll call them affirmations or clearings, and put them in there, and people share. And then sometimes if you create one and you're a little stuck, Amy Jo herself will pop in and help you. Love it. She's a wonderful lady. So I hope that's a new and interesting resource that you've never heard of before. When I finish, I'll go put the links in the description, because then people can find it. Anyway, good night until next time. And of course, I'll be back, because I love to teach and have everybody win in life.